Hello and welcome to the Put the Me Back in Mommy show. I'm Isabel, your host, and I'm here today with Wendi McKenna, Elissa Arnheim, and Sacha Sterling. Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for being here. And today we're talking about how to thrive during a pandemic. So it can be an intense topic. But before we dive into our conversation, I'd love to hear a little bit about who you are, how you support women, and also a little bit about how you might be struggling during this time of, a pandemic. So Wendi, do you want to begin?
Sure, I'll start. So, hi everyone, I'm Wendi McKenna. I am a pediatric physical therapist and a mommy coach, and a parenting coach, and I have three little to big ones, a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, and 7-year-old, and who are all home Zoom schooling and all the things that we're all doing. And what I really help parents do, especially right now, it's so needed, is move from rules to relationships. And it's right now when school is telling us that we have to be teachers and we have to be the PE teacher and we have to be the coach and we have to be the mom and we have to be the best friend. And we have to do all of these roles right now. First of all, it's not possible. We aren't that. And so let's really, for me, what has been a struggle, but that also I've leaned into, is that I am the mother. I'm the mom. And whatever else I can get in there and sprinkle in there, great. But I am not going to get the worksheet filled out. I'm not going to destroy my relationship, especially with my son who hates Zoom school with all of his heart and soul. I'm not going to destroy my relationship with him to make him do the work. It won't serve him now, and it will definitely destroy our relationship. And so I've really leaned into that. I don't have to do it all, and I don't have to be it all. And I just get to be me, and I get to show up and love him and love on him and serve the child in front of me rather than the agendas and the expectations. And so this is what I help parents do all the time, but it is up in on steroids right now because we're all stuck at home and with all these other roles. So we just get to take a deep breath, and I am struggling with it. It's something that's on a day-to-day basis, but we are working through it. And, this morning was a beautiful morning. Yesterday wasn't. And so, I get to take each day and each moment as it is, not try to compare it to the one before, not wonder what I'm doing wrong if it's not working. And, but also not if something is really great and happening, it's not like I've crossed the finish line. Right? There's no finish line. It's just the journey. And so get to celebrate it in the moment. You never know what's going to happen in the next moment. So you just stay present. So I know I probably went too long, but.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sacha, how about you?
Yeah, so my name's Sacha Sterling, and I'm a business coach for women, mainly mamas, to actualize their own legacy through entrepreneurship while raising families and really building out the long game, especially right now with the pandemic. I know a lot of mompreneurs were working within the 9 to 3 window or 9 to 12 window with preschool, and that's just out the window. And so how I started my online coaching business was literally during nap time. I had 1 hour once a week, and I started my coaching business back in, that was end of 2010, 2011. So I'm pulling out all of that old material to help mamas to how do we actually move this forward, unattached to results in the present, but know that we're building something for the long haul so that women are still feeling like they're pouring into their dream, but also dealing with the urgent needs of homeschooling and all of everyone being home all together all at once. So yeah, and I have a real heart for emotional, the emotions. And so I'm seeing that that's really up right now too. It's professional development, business development requires so much personal development. And so explore, how can we be with all of our emotions? How can we love all of our emotions? And so much of what Wendi said about being the journey, and there's nowhere to rush forward to. It just starts again, like laundry, cooking.
The laundry's always there.
It's always there. So my own personal struggle has been, running a company, especially as a business coach, teaching women how to make money online or bring their work online. My business has exploded. And so all of a sudden, I could be working 20-hour days if I chose to. And then all of a sudden the kids are home all the time. And so it's definitely had its challenging times. And we go to a Waldorf school, so we don't have a TV. Well, we didn't have a TV. And within 3 weeks, we had a huge TV and a PlayStation and a hoverboard and just as much as possible but there's been some blessings in that because my husband and the kids have been playing video games together. And I've been really face to face with my control issues and what I think things should be versus what they get to be. So it's like a constant daily thing now.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Elissa.
Wow, I feel so deeply what both Sacha and Wendi have shared. My name is Elissa Arnheim. I help health savvy women who want to reverse their children's behavior and learning issues, anxiety and sleep issues, and picky eating, everything around picky eating, so that everyone can just have a good time together, because it's not fun. It's hard to have fun with your family when you've got these things that you're worried about all the time and trying to correct. So, and here's a spoiler. The secret sauce is that we have to take care of ourselves first. And that is the first step to actually helping our children with whatever they're dealing with. It's always first. So this has been a totally crazy time because, like we've all shared, the time that we have available to do anything for ourselves feels really contracted. And like Holly was describing, like we chose a school that didn't have screens, that the kids were outside all the time. And now, this morning it's like, I'm on my screen for one thing, he's on his screen for another thing. And so what I've noticed lately is that the school has been stepping up and getting into this way of being that they've never been before. They're really stepping into this online world, and they're trying to meet the needs of all these parents that are trying to work from home. And so they've been adding appointments. They've been adding scheduled Zoom meetings. And for me, it has been kind of crushing in a way, because we've always taken walks in the morning. And so it's impeding our ability to get outside and be free. Now this unscheduled time has started to get scheduled in a way that I wasn't looking for, but I want him to be connected to his school. So that's the struggle that I've had recently, is managing that and balancing that, and finding the spots that don't take away from me, that I can give my son and I this bonding outdoor nature time every day.
Yes, totally. Well, I love that you shared the importance of self-care, because that's really, this whole show is called Put the Me Back in Mommy. So yes, we know that. We know the importance of self-care and prioritizing our needs. So this is the question: how do we do that when we have, all these everything is competing for our attention, our children, our work, maybe our partners, just all the laundry. How do we do that then? How do we make ourselves a priority?
Well, first we just decide and then commit to it. And then for me, it's one thing to commit, and then it's another thing to commit with no back door. So by closing the back door, there's no way out of the commitment. You've got to do it. So I have accountability partners. So even this morning, we set up a Zoom call at 6 a.m. We met at 6 a.m. and we said, okay, for this next hour, this is what we're going to work on. We're going to go do it. And then we're going to meet back at 7 a.m. and declare what happened and how we did and what's our intention for the next hour or the rest of the day, whatever that may be. And, you know, for one of us, it was getting some work done. For another one of us, it was meditating. For me, it was both of those things. Like, you know, it was meditation, and then I get to get this one thing complete. And it just felt so good knowing that I was doing it with someone else, and we're in the same boat right now, even if we're doing different things, but having that accountability of like, yeah, we get to show up face to face at 6 a.m. And like, that helped me get out of bed at 5:40. Otherwise I would have just probably pressed snooze, snuggled into my hubby a little bit longer, because that's so nice too. You know, and sometimes those days are great. I mean, sometimes that is the self-care, but I know that when I start my day that way, the rest of the day goes better.
I totally second that. I have groups of colleagues, and I have friend groups. I have one person in particular. We're doing an accountability challenge for 30 days. And so I find that the more I connect with my people, the more, and they're all, almost all of them are moms. Some of them are not. And the more I connect, the better I feel, and the more I can do things for myself, either for my business or just take the time for myself. And it's hard to like have like a teeny bit of time carved out to get like work done, but I get so much more done if I'm in contact with my peeps. It feels indulgent, but it's really productive, and it pans out so much in such a beautiful way for my family. I'm so much more patient with my family when I get to connect with the people that I need.
Love that. I find that so many women I talk to want to be at the place of like just deciding and acting, but don't even know what they want. So what I'd love to contribute is the idea of vision. So for the mama who's watching, who's just in reaction, like, well, I don't even know what I would decide and commit to. So, so many moms are, wearing all the hats, and maybe knowingly or not knowingly are connecting their worthiness and their identity to multitasking and being a support role for other people. So part of what I help mamas to do is to shift into vision and possibility. And so just a simple prompt, like a low pressure, I'm not going to go like deep into it, but just like a simple prompt to help us get out of reaction and into possibility is, what would I love? Like, just like, what would I love? Because sometimes it's scary to admit what we want because we don't think we can get it. And so even the what do I want can feel a little intimidating, but the what would I love is just being in the dreaming and the possibility and the fantasy without putting the pressure on like, oh, well then I can't have it. How would that happen? But just starting to like connect to the possibility through what would I love, really I find starts to move us in the direction of it happening.
Just hearing that just opens things up. That's beautiful, Sacha. Thank you.
I love that, Sacha. The other day Wes was doing an art project for school, and I realized I was trying to do something else, but he needed some help, and I realized, oh, like I want to do art. Like I realized I was kind of annoyed that he got to do art and I had to do this other stuff. So I just shoved my stuff aside, and I like pulled out the scissors and the markers and all this stuff, and I actually have I started gluing things together from magazines and catalogs. And I just like, and it just was words from what was available, but it just made me feel so happy. It was so bonding. We both were like quietly doing our art together.
I have to share, I pulled out this coloring book, and I just started on the first page, just doodling, but just one color at a time, just like it went from black and white to just like this pop of color and beauty. And it just brought so much joy back to just the simple mindless doodle.
Yeah.
Or coloring in. You don't have to think about it, just color in the lines.
Totally. Lately I've been taking flowers from our garden. We have a bunch of like not even that much. We have like kale flowers because our kale bolts every year, right? And we have some nasturtiums. But when sometimes when I'm making food, like I'll arrange it on the plate and I'll like put flowers on it. And it's like this private little, it's almost like I'm stealing like a little bit of pleasure from this task that I have to do all the time.
I just feel that a swelling in my heart, even as you describe the beauty, like sometimes it's hard to go for even the love, but if we can go for the beauty of something first, like I wonder if there's someone who's like, I don't even know what I love, just asking like, well, what do I find beautiful? What's beautiful about this moment of my screaming toddler? You know, can I find just one piece of beauty in this moment?
You know,
Self-expression.
one of the things that I find with just in general with myself, with everybody, and this was like a critical piece that coming out of we had all this medical stuff with my little boy years ago, and I realized that I pretty much had been holding my breath for like 3 years, and started taking deep breaths. And there's some other stuff going on at the time, but this became like a super big part of what I do with my clients and myself. And that, like, what do you love question, when we're so like seized up with like, okay, we have a Zoom call and then I have to do this and I'm behind up laundry and all of this stuff, like it's just unnatural. It's impossible for us to think of something, you know, pleasant, because we're in emergency mode. And one of the fastest ways to switch our nervous system back into this rest and digest parasympathetic mode is to take 3 big belly breaths. And so I think a really good starting point to getting to that, like, what would I like in this moment, is just taking a few big breaths, because maybe that's what I love, is breathing, is actually like, calming down. And then
would you lead us through 3 belly breaths so that it's not just in our heads right now? And for the mamas listening and watching, I invite you to join us. Would you just lead us in some belly breaths right now?
Of course. So when we take these breaths, really like fill up your belly. Like your belly's going to go way out, and it might stretch up into your chest and across your clavicles or shoulders. And you can breathe in through your nose and then blow out with your mouth. And if you make a sound, it is even more helpful in switching on that calm vagus system. So we'll do it 3 times. You can ground your feet in or ground your hips in, maybe move around a little. And okay, here we go. Breathing in and out. And in. And out, nice and slow. And in one more time. Out, maybe humming on the way out. I always speak so much slower
Afterwards.
when I'm done with this.
Oh,
You know,
I love that you did that, Elissa. Thank you so much. Breath work is a huge part of how I get through my days, and dancing. So like in through the nose, out through the mouth, and movement and dance and song. So I love that you brought that in.
yeah. And the
I
thing
love the dance.
yes, dance is so good. And the breath is so good. And we all know it, right? But experiencing it is a completely different thing. And I'm a little bit of a science nerd. So for those of you who want to even go further with like the visualization of what that actually does for us, like first of all, it's our connection, our first connection to the outside world. You know, oxygen from the air that you can't even see is giving you life. And then we are breathing out life back to the world again. You know, so that's just on a macro level, but on like a more intimate level on the inside, when you're breathing in air, every little molecule is going down to the very little end sacs within your lungs, and blood is rushing by and picking up the oxygen and delivering it to every cell in your body so that it can work in harmony. Without that breath, we are not here. And you know, for people who know me, they know that my favorite movie of all time is Avatar, and I can't wait for the new one to come out. It's coming out in December of 2021. I've been waiting forever. But the reason I love it so much is because it's this connection of everything is intimately connected. We are all one. We cannot be or do anything without affecting everything else. Mm. And so when we experience breath like that, and a lot of times, Elissa, too, on the last breath, I like to exhale not only with a sound but with a smile. Mm. And it's really yummy. But it's the experience of that. I mean, it so quickly brings your upstairs brain back down again, so that you're like in a space to have your cup be full, even within those few seconds. And
yes,
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Then you're in a place of choice. You can choose how you want to be rather than react. And like your blood can actually get, when we're like this, our blood flow is shut off from our brain, from our digestion, from all of our systems, from our detox. And oh my gosh, your blood can reach all of the parts it needs to go to. You're like a whole new person.
Yeah.
I also love the analogy of the breath as rhythmical, and that there's an intake, so there's a receiving, and then there's a giving. And that as moms, we can create that sense of rhythm throughout our days, so that our days have an in-breath to them and then an out-breath. Because so often I work with moms who are only breathing out, like only giving, and then they're wondering why they're not able to cope, because that's not how we work as human beings. We literally need to breathe. Breathing means both inhale and exhale.
Yeah.
So how can we add the inhale to our days as well?
I think what you're saying is so important, because also we're modeling for our children. We're teaching our children we can give, and we have to we have to inhale and take care of ourselves with those times of self-care. And I know that for so many of my friends and I, our model with our moms, like they were trying to be the good mom, and so they were giving, and that's what we learned, like that's what's good, and it's not serving us. And so we get to change it for our kids, show them, you got to take care of yourself so that you have enough to give. And honestly, with all the women that I work with, when they start giving to themselves and start paying attention to themselves and kind of take that focus away from like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with my kid? Like their child gets like a little break and is like, oh, my mom's not worried about me. Yeah. Oh, maybe I'm okay. I think I'm okay. And so many problems spontaneously resolve just with that break.
We create so many things in our children just by like trying to put them in this box of what it's supposed to be versus like, just it's a mirror. They are truly like, when we are willing to accept it, the behavior that we see in our children are just a mirror for what's going on inside of us.
Oh, so
and
true.
If we don't have the courage to go there, then we can't really help but just put on Band-Aids for our kids. Like let's get to the core. But the only way to get to the core, right back to Isabel and why me and mommy, like it starts with us. It starts with us, and we get to do the inner work, and we get to go deep. We get to bring in the support that is going to help us to get there, accountability, tribe, whatever. But tuning into that which is beautiful and that which we love, so that we can really uncover that which is already there, but has been covered up with layers of shoulds and blames and shames and fault fairies and all that other crap that we don't want to deal with. But, and then just another point that I wanted to say, that modeling these things for our kids. So it's definitely not what we say. It's kind of what we do. But it's the energy with which we do it that is really going to make the biggest impact on our children. So do we do the dishes with like, I hate this? Or do we do the dishes because we get to renew, what the kitchen looks like afterwards, and so maybe that's something that you don't typically like to do. So how can we shift the energy around that? Then for us, movement has always been, and Sacha, I loved how you talked about dance earlier. Movement is such an important part of living. Otherwise we wouldn't have bodies, right? We would just be brains on a stick. And so my kids have always known that it was important to us, but I went to the gym and moved when they were asleep or when they were in school. So they heard me talk about it, but they never saw me do it. Well, now they're seeing me do it all the time. Would I love to have them like come in with me with Jumpstart Homeschool PE every morning? Yes. They typically just look at me and roll their eyes. Like, sometimes they get the dog to go in there to try to trip me up, which is funny in and of itself. But what every single one of them is doing, all three of them have chosen new ways and discovered and explored new ways to move that they weren't doing before, just because they're seeing me do it with love rather than just talk about the importance of it.
Go ahead, Sacha.
Oh yeah, well, I love that, Wendi, and what's coming up for me is something that, behind the what do I need, what do I love, what's not working. Right now we've been simplifying it so much to how do I want to feel as a family. So we reset, we sat down as a family, just checked in with everyone, how are you feeling because so much uncertainty came up at first. It was a big adjustment. All of a sudden they're out of school and they're hearing things from friends. And so it's like, how are you feeling? How do you want to feel? And so we're a big believer of family vision maps and really connecting. So very much what you're saying, Wendi, around the emotion behind what we're doing. And, and what you said at the beginning too, relationships first. So that's all I wanted to add in. What were you going to say, Elissa?
Oh, I love what you're sharing. What I'm thinking about, especially with the dance, with the movement, I think of everything from kind of a gut perspective, because that's what I really do is gut health through all these different means. And movement has been proven over and over again to support larger diversity of bacteria and microbes in our gut, which decreases inflammation. It supports nutrient absorption and our neurotransmitters and all of these different things. And it's we have all of these different avenues to kind of wedge open that door to calm and peace and self-love and more courage. Wendi, you mentioned courage. It does take a lot of courage to do something differently, than the shoulds or the programming. And when we just crack the door open in any of these ways, we're reinforced by our biology, with different messages that are coming from our gut, from our external, from our movements, that are reinforcing for our brains to continue doing that thing that feels good. So so whether it's food or movement, any of these things are going to support the other thing that we were wanting to do.
Totally. And each of you have so generously shared a gift with our audience so that we can continue to put the me back in mommy, so you can continue to get support from these gifts. I just want to quickly go around and have you each talk about the gifts that you're sharing. And then we have to say goodbye because our time is almost up. Sacha, tell us about your gift.
Yes, so I have a free upcoming challenge called Being a Woman in Business. Is a lot like being a heroine on a journey. And so it's really around how to find emotional freedom inside of our purpose work amidst these very unprecedented times.
Awesome. Elissa, what's your gift?
It's Probiotic Ninja Moves is all about how the very specific steps that you can use to get your child to fall in love with fermented vegetables, like sauerkraut. Ours is almost empty because we eat it really fast. And that's to shift to open up their brain and attitude and brightness and sleep better and poop better and all these different things. And people think you're never going to love. My kid will never eat sauerkraut, usually because the parent is thinking, I don't want to eat sauerkraut, but everyone will fall in love with it. I promise it happens all the time. It's super fun.
Awesome. And Wendi?
Yeah, we didn't talk too much about it, but one of my big things is play. And so much like the love languages that everyone kind of knows about, there are actually 8 play personalities. And so I have the play report that talks about what is play, why is play important, and then the 8 different personalities that we fall into so that we know where to meet our child in their world of wonder and exploration. And we may understand why play seems to be hard for us as adults, if it's not a match. And so it identifies and describes all of the 8 play personalities and gives you a little scale at the end to say, yes, this is me, or hell no, it's not. And then an opportunity to set up your home or your energy so that you explore the ones where you might not be as strong, so that you're really opening yourself up and your child up to full well-roundedness.
Well, I know that you'll all enjoy the gifts. And thank you, my dear friends, for being here on the Put the Me Back in Mommy show. I can't wait to connect with each of you again in the future soon. Until next time, bye.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
Thank you, Isabel.
Thanks, Isabel.